You know, when you think of a bearded dragon, you probably picture one chilling under a heat lamp, not doing much. They're one of the most common pet reptiles out there, and you might feel like you've got them pretty much figured out. But trust me, beneath that calm, scaly exterior is a world of surprising complexity and some really incredible biological secrets.
So let me just throw this out there. What if I told you these mellow little lizards have a venomous past? That they have a light-sensing third eye right on top of their head? And, get this, that they can literally change their sex based on how warm their egg was? Yeah, stick around because we're about to dive into all of it. So first up, let's talk about how they talk. Obviously, they don't use words, but they have this really rich and complex body language. That blank stare you see? That's just part of a much bigger, much more nuanced conversation they're having with the world. Let's start with one of their classic moves, the head bob. But here's the thing, it's not just one move. The speed tells the entire story. If you see a male doing this really fast, almost frantic bobbing, that's him trying to show who's boss. But a slow, almost graceful bowing motion, that's a totally different signal. It's usually a sign of submission, saying, hey, you're in charge. It's a tale of two very different speeds.
And then you've got the wave. Now this one is so easy to misinterpret. It looks like a cute little hello, right? But in the dragon world, it's basically them waving a tiny white flag. A younger or smaller dragon will do this slow, circular wave at a bigger one to say, hey, I see you, I respect you, I'm not a threat. It's a brilliant way to keep the peace.
Have you ever seen a beardie just sitting there, mouth wide open? It's a little weird looking, right? Well, that's called gaping. And 9 times out of 10, they're just cooling off. It's their version of a dog panting. But, and this is a big but, context is everything. If that open mouth is paired with a big, puffed-out, dark beard, you need to back off. That's not cooling down, that's a warning.
Okay, now for the part I know you've been waiting for. Let's get into their biological superpowers. And I'm not exaggerating, these are the traits that make bearded dragons absolutely extraordinary. We're gonna hit 3 of their most incredible hidden abilities. Their strange and mysterious third eye, their venomous family tree, and the almost unbelievable way temperature can decide if an embryo becomes male or female. First off, that third eye. If you look closely at the top of their head, you'll see a tiny, distinct scale. That's the parietal eye. Now, it can't see images like their other 2 eyes, but what it can do is detect shifts in light and shadow. Think of it as their built-in alarm system for predatory birds swooping down from above. It also helps them figure out how long to bask and regulates their hormones. Pretty cool, right? Okay, this next one might surprise you. Back in 2005, researchers found that a very close relative of our pet beardies actually has primitive venom glands. Now, before you panic, the venom is super, super mild. It's completely harmless to us. It's really just a leftover trait from their ancient ancestors, probably used to help take down insects a little bit faster.
All right, prepare to have your mind blown. So, bearded dragons have chromosomes that determine their sex, just like us. But there's a crazy wild card. If you take an egg that is genetically a male and you incubate it in temperatures over about 32 Celsius or 90 Fahrenheit, that genetic male will hatch as a fully functional egg-laying female. It's just, wow.
And it gets even wilder. These sex-reversed females aren't just able to reproduce. They're kind of super moms. Studies have actually shown they can produce almost double the number of eggs as a standard genetic female. It's a mind-bending example of how nature can adapt to a warming world. Now that we know some of their amazing secrets, let's talk about their reality. Because some amazing field research, especially from scientists like Dr. Jonathan Howard out in Australia, is really starting to challenge a lot of the old school ideas about how to care for them. Let's bust 2 of the biggest myths right now. First, the fear of sand. For years, people have said sand is dangerous because it causes impaction, but Dr. Howard's work shows that their natural habitat is like almost all sand. Impaction isn't really about the sand itself. It's about other problems, like not having the right lighting or being dehydrated. Second, the baby diet. Everyone says babies need mostly insects, right? Wrong. When they actually looked at the stomach contents of wild baby dragons, they found a ton of plant matter. And this brings us to something that is absolutely critical for them, UVB light. This isn't just for warmth. They need that specific type of light to create vitamin D3 in their skin. Without D3, they literally cannot absorb calcium from their food. And that leads to a horrible condition called metabolic bone disease, where their bones basically become weak and brittle. And if you're thinking, oh, I'll just put their tank by a sunny window, well, look at this number. Standard window glass blocks virtually all of the essential UVB rays they need, between 97 and 100%. It's a huge deal. It just goes to show that proper reptile lighting isn't a suggestion, it's a lifeline.
So, beyond all the cool biology, we're now finding out that their brains are way more complex than we ever gave them credit for. Turns out, these supposedly simple lizards have a real talent for social learning.
Check out this brilliant experiment. Scientists trained one dragon, the demonstrator, to slide open a little door to get a tasty treat. Then they let other dragons just watch him do it. And the result? The dragons who watched were able to copy the action perfectly to get their own food. The ones who never saw the demonstration? They had no idea what to do. They learned just by watching. I mean, just listen to what the lead researcher, Dr. Anna Wilkinson, said about this. For the longest time, we thought this kind of learning, imitation, was pretty much just a human thing, maybe some great apes. This study completely shatters that idea. It proves that complex thinking is happening in the reptile world too. So, to wrap things up, let's look at two final, often misunderstood parts of their biology that are so important for keeping them healthy, whether they're in the outback or in our living rooms. First up is brumation. Think of it as a reptile version of hibernation. When the weather gets cooler, they'll slow way down, stop eating, and pretty much just sleep for weeks, sometimes even months. Now, if you're a new owner, this can be absolutely terrifying, but it's a totally natural and necessary process that lets their bodies rest and reset. And last but not least, let's talk about good parasites. Yes, you heard that right. We're so used to thinking that all parasites are bad, but some, like certain pinworms and bearded dragons, actually have a symbiotic relationship with them. They hang out in the gut and help break down all the tough, fibrous plants that the dragon eats. They're actually helping. So we've seen a secret language, venomous ancestors, sex reversal, and intelligence we never thought possible. It really leaves you with a big question, doesn't it? If one of the most common, well-known pet lizards in the world is this full of secrets, just imagine what else we're missing about the animal kingdom all around us. What other secrets are just waiting to be discovered? Thanks for joining me.